Good morning, children. So welcome back to our video session again. Now last time we had gone through the chapter, the Monsoon Diary. We have been to different dates and accordingly what the writer has written about the nature that we have seen. Now since we have learned about the nature, we will continue with it. And in your English Honeydew chapter, we have chapter 9, The Great Stone Face. Now children, when we see the nature, you have heard about mountains, isn't it? So mountains means you have that picture it is like big brown color. Now painting, when you'll do the painting, you paint the mountains with brown color. So that idea is in your mind. Now here on your screen you are seeing the picture about the mountain and there is a face on it. So today's lesson which we are going to learn is the Great Stone Face part 1. Now before we start with the chapter, we are going to see, from distance, we stand at one distance and we see the things in the nature. Now here also, seen from a distance, hilltops and huge rocks seem to assume various shapes. They may resemble an animal or a human figure. People attribute stories to these shapes. Some stories come true, others don't. The Great Stone Face is one such shape that reminds the inhabitants of the valley of a prophecy. What was it? Did it come true? Now here the writer is trying to tell us, when you watch from a distance, you can see the various forms of nature. There are huge rocks with different shapes. They resemble animal or a human figure. Now there are many different stories related to that shapes. Why the shape is like that? Why they can see this human-like figure there. The Great Stone Face is one such shape which reminds about the people, those who lived in that valley. Now it is a prophecy. Now prophecy means what? Prophecy means a foretelling. Bhavishyavani we say. So what is going to be in future. So we are going to see what was it and whether it came true. Now in this paragraph, second line, there is one word, assume. Assume means supposed to be. Assume means supposed to be. Then attribute. Attribute means quality. They try to refer to different stories and all. So we are going to see what is the foretelling or what is the Bhavishyavani of that figure the stone face. So we'll start with the chapter. One afternoon, when the sun was going down, a mother and her little boy sat at the door of their cottage, talking about the Great Stone Face. They had only to lift their eyes and there it was, plain to be seen, though miles away, with the sunshine brighten all its features. Now what the writer is telling, one afternoon in that valley there was a mother and a son. So this mother and son were sitting outside in the hot sun in front of their house and it was becoming sunset. The sun was going down and the mother and the boy were sitting and they were looking up. Now when they looked at what they could see outside, as soon as they come sit there and see, they could see the Great Stone Face which is there on the rocks. Plain it was and it was miles away. But when you see from very far, you could see it is a plain mountain. But when it comes little, when you come very closer, it was plain. And when you see it from a distance, you could see some features, because the sunshine brightens its features. The features of that figure, the stone face which was there, that was giving you more brightness, clear features were given. Now see children, next part. And what was the great stone face? So here we are going to find out what is this great stone face. The great stone face was a work of nature formed on the perpendicular side of a mountain by some immense rocks which had been thrown together so that when viewed at a proper distance they resembled the features of a human face. If the spectator approached too near, he lost the outline of the enormous face and could see only a heap of gigantic rocks piled one upon another. But seen from a distance, the clouds clustering about it, the great stone face seemed positively to be alive. It was the belief of many people that the valley owed much of its fertility to the benign face that was continually beaming over it. So what the writer is trying to tell us, children, here, now first see the meanings in this paragraph. Perpendicular side means rising very steeply. The mountains are very high, so that steep part, you feel as though it's coming down straight. That steep part is called perpendicular. Immense rock. Second line, children. Immense, that is huge, which had been thrown together. Like when these rocks, it is a nature's creation. There no human being is going and putting the stones together to form a rock and all. No, this is God's creation. It is a nature. So you can see piles of stones like rocks put together framing a figure, and from distance, when viewed at a proper distance, you can see the features of a human face. And the spectator means one who is watching. When he approaches too close, there is nothing. He could see only the outline of the enormous face. Enormous means very big. Enormous, very big, and could see only a heap of gigantic means immense, and immense means huge. So pile one upon the other. So it is, if you see from the distance, then only you can see the face properly. You cannot see when you are very close. When you go very close, then you can see only the rocks piled one upon the other. So it was a belief, people, for those who stayed there, they are seeing that face for many years. And it is said that it was a belief for many people that the valley owned much of its fertility to the benign. Benign means kind and gentle face that was continually beaming over it. So here, now this face, it was a prophecy, it was a Bhavishwani that face is somebody's who has done something good for the valley. It is a kind and gentle face of a person who has done something great, well-known person about that particular valley. So I hope, children, that paragraph is clear to you. Then next is a mother and her little boy, as we said earlier, sat at the door of their cottage, gazing at the great stone face and talking about it. The child's name was Ernest. Now in the beginning I told you a mother and the son were sitting there in front of their cottage and they were looking at the great stone face. Now this mother and the boy, they were sitting and they were looking. So the child's name was Ernest. Mother, said he, while the great face smiled on him, I wish I could speak, for it looks so very kindly that its voice must indeed be pleasant. If I ever see a man with such a face, I should love him very much. So the boy, Ernest, told his mother, he said, Mummy, if I see this person, when I look at the face, I always feel the face is giving a smile for me. And I wish I could speak to this person. Such a smiling face the person is having, and he is wishing to speak to the person. He said, it looks, the person is also very kind, and his voice will also be very pleasant. So he wanted to hear that voice of the person to whom this face resembles. So he said, I should love him very much. And he says, I love to see him, I want to talk to him, because by the face only I can make out that he is a very good person, a pleasant person, a kind person. If an old prophecy should come to pass, answered his mother, we may see a man sometime with exactly such a face as that. So that the mother said, if the prophecy or if the Bhavishavani or if foretelling comes, if we come to know that, then if it's going to be in actual, if it comes true, then surely we will meet a person who is like exactly like this face. What prophecy do you mean, dear mother? Eagerly inquired Ernest. Please tell me about it. So he asked him, the boy asked the mother, what prophecy you're talking about? Please tell me about it. So he inquired. So he said that he wants to know now. The mother said, no, like if the prophecy comes true, comes to pass. Comes to pass means become true. So then definitely we will meet the person. So he wants to know now what is that prophecy. He asked his mother to please tell me about it. So the boy was requesting his mother to tell him about the prophecy what the mother was saying. So his mother told him a story that her own mother had told her when she herself was younger than little Ernest, that at some future day a child should be born. So her mother had told that prophecy when she was smaller than Ernest. And now so many years passed by. She became a mother. Now she is having a son. So till now the prophecy did not become true. The prophecy had not come into truth. It has not come true. So but now she is trying to tell this to her son. So she said, see here, then little Ernest, that some future day a child should be born. Children, we'll move to the next page. Near here, who was destined to become the greatest and noblest person of his time, and whose face in manhood should bear an exact resemblance to the great stone face. Many still had faith in this old prophecy, but others took it to be nothing but idle talk. At all events, the great man of prophecy had not yet appeared. So children, so the mother is saying, now we are going to see whether the prophecy is going to come true. She says in future day, a child should be born. The prophecy was that a child will be born, and who is going to become a greatest person, a noblest person of his time. And that face, whose face will be, when he grows up into manhood, that face will be exactly resembling the face on the great stone face, on the great stone. So, and when this went on in the village, in the valley, like when it was told like that, when they heard the prophecy like that, all did not believe. Still, some had faith, some did not. Some said that, okay, really, this is going to come in future. We are going to see whose face is going to come on the stone. And now others think that it is an idle talk. It is just a talk, and all the events of great man of the prophecy has not yet appeared. So few took it positively, few took it negatively. That is not going to work properly. Oh mother, cried Ernest, clapping his hands above his head, I do hope that I shall live to see him. So the mother, oh mother, he cried Ernest. He was clapping his hands above his head, and he said, I hope I shall live to see him. Because we don't know. Now see, the mother had heard the story when she was small. Now she became a lady, she became the mother, and her child is so big now, Ernest. So till now she has not seen that prophecy coming into truth. So but now he says, I hope I will live till that time, till the prophecy comes true, and I may get a chance to live and see him. His mother was an affectionate and thoughtful woman. It was proper, she thought, not to discourage the fanciful hopes of her little boy. So she said to him, "Perhaps you may." So the mother didn't wanted to discourage her son. So she said, "Yes, surely you will be able to see your that great stone face. I hope it will be. It is. Don't worry now. Keep hope that one day you will see that prophecy. Perhaps it may. Fanciful means imaginary. Because the mother was little bit doubtful, because till now she has not seen. So she was not sure whether in future also that is going to come into a true fact. So, but anyway, not to discourage her son, she said, "Perhaps you may." And Ernest never forgot the story that his mother told him. It was always in his mind whenever he looked upon the great stone face. He spent his childhood in the log cottage where he was born, was dutiful to his mother and helpful to her in many times, assisting her much with his little hands and more with his loving heart. In this manner, from a happy yet often pensive child, he grew up to be a mild and quiet youth. So, as for Ernest, he did not forget the story which his mother had told. That was in his mind. He remembered it, and always he used to come out, look at the great stone face. Like that, he spent his childhood in that cottage, being very dutiful. He used to help his mother with all the little duties which he had, and with a loving heart. His heart. He was a very kind and loving person. So he used to always help. He did not refuse whatever his mother told him. He used to do it. He helped his mother, and with loving heart he used to love his mother and listen to everything what his mother said. In this manner, from a happy yet often pensive child, he grew up to be a mild and quiet child. Here, pensive, little bit worried. He had that in the mind, no? So that was in his subconscious mind, that he has to find out, he must be able to see a person with that face, whose face is going to resemble on the great stone face. And as he was growing, as a person into youth, he became a youth. He was a very mild, very polite, gentle and quiet youth. Children, is it clear this much? Okay, so we shall continue. Ernest had no teacher, but the great stone face became one to him. When the work of the day was over, he would gaze at it for hours, until he began to imagine that those vast features recognized him and gave him a smile of kindness and encouragement. So here he says, he used to do that. He had no teacher, but that great stone face became one teacher for him. He used to do all his work throughout the day. He used to go and then come back, sit outside the cottage and look at the great stone face. And these, when he used to sit and gaze means continuously sit looking at the face. He used to sit for hours, and he would imagine whether when in future, if that person comes, will he be able to recognize that person, whether he will be able to recognize him, and give him a smile, and gave him a smile of kindness and encouragement. When he was so much engrossed looking at that picture, that face, when he used to imagine and think, he used to feel that the great stone face is giving